Let's see. Christopher Moonlight here. Ready to get to work? Let's get to work. What's going on here? We have, let's get rid of that. We have some compositing to do today. So, set your electric eye on me, babe. Let's do this Moon Age Daydream. This is something I've already composited, but I'm going to do it again. So what you see here is a miniature shot. I'm going to show you this. Let's stop this for a second. I'm going to show you what we're going to be working on today. So this is the original footage. This is a miniature built by Heather Lowe. And it's got some motion tracking dots that I placed down here. It's a bit dark. So we're going to track it. We're going to take some footage of some water that I went to the park and shot. We're going to add that water in so it looks like a flooded tunnel. We're going to add also, you'll notice there's some light reflection going on. So first thing we need to do is we need to motion track this. If you've never done motion tracking before, it's pretty easy. So I'll just take you through what I'm doing really quick. You may already know how to do this, and honestly you should. There are a million tutorials out there that will show you how to do that. So, but just in case you're coming to me for the first time, Mr. Motion Tracker Master of not motion tracking. No, not easy. Some people have great motion tracking skills, or they have better footage. You know, there's Mocha, there's 3D camera. I actually tried to solve this with After Effects 3D camera to no avail. I think the footage was just too rough. Again, working with the DSLR, it's compressed footage. So along with the motion blur and all that, you're going to get some artifacts. So anyway, let's make a null layer because you want to be able to attach your track to a null. Let's go back to here. Let's make a null layer. So track motion. I would love to be able to track camera. Let's click rotation and scale. We want as much information here as possible. So let's just zoom in here and go down to these dots. I'm going to give it a little more room to look. See this outer box? This is the area that the motion tracker will look in. So if your footage kind of shakes a lot, you might want to expand this a little bit just so that the motion tracker will search for that dot. If the dot kind of goes out of this area at any time, then it'll just go haywire. So let's go ahead and hit this play button and watch it track. Oh, look, it jumped. Ugh, that's awful. Okay. Reset. Let's go back. Zoom in. What's up with that? I can't even find the dot. There it is. Not much contrast. But that one seemed to do alright. This is the one that jumped. So let's see. Maybe that wasn't big enough. Give it more room to search. Let's try again. Better. Okay. Looks pretty good. We want to make sure that we edit the target. Yeah, null object. That's fine. And then we can apply. Apply X, Y, or X and Y. Yep, that's right. We want X and Y. Okay, so now we have, let's roll that up. So now we have this null object. Usually you can see it. Let's make it invisible anyway. Oops. Okay, so now we're going to take our water footage, and I shot this bit of footage here. Okay, so now we're going to take our water footage, and I shot this bit of some rippling water. It's at a park. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make this, see this little box here? For those filmmakers that don't know, and by the way, If you're an After Effects expert and you're watching this tutorial and going like, man, this guy's a joke, I realize that there are a lot better ways of doing this, but I am doing these tutorials for the independent filmmakers who don't have a big budget for effects, can't afford an effects guy, and they need to do this stuff themselves, but they don't really have time to dive into all the intricate stuff. I approach things as an artist for the most part. So anyway, we have this footage. In some of the footage I shot, there will be a duck going by, but fortunately not in this piece. By the way, I'm going to look for a venue to upload a lot of second unit stuff that I shoot so that you can download it. Probably it'll be available for my Patreon subscribers, but we kind of have to investigate. I have to investigate how best to do that. But I have a bunch of footage. It's just things like water that I shot, or you know, B-roll of trees blowing in the wind, things that are kind of useful to cut away to, or are also useful as textures. So check in, if you're watching this on YouTube or Patreon or wherever, check in the description below, and if I've gotten that accomplished, then I will leave a link to where you can get this footage if you want to use it. Just be sure to credit me for shooting it if you do use it. So anyway, going back to this, I'm going to make this a 3D layer. And I just want to kind of show you something here. We're going to grab this here and we're going to pull this over to null. See how this changes to null? This is now parented to the null object. Whenever you parent one layer to another, and you can see what it's parented to by clicking this, that layer will then move with the layer that it's parented to. So if the parented layer, like a null object with a motion track, moves, then whoop, we get this, it's shaken along just like this. So how is that useful? Well, now this object's in 3D. We're going to play around with it a little bit. So let's go over to transform. We're going to position it a little lower, a little further back maybe, and let's see, a little to the side. Actually, let's go a little to this side. Bring it down a bit, not too far down, and let's rotate it just a little bit so it kind of, there we go. Now I've got this brick here, so let's move that aside. I'll probably scale this up a little bit. Just kind of adjust it until we have it in the right spot. And line it up with that edge just a little bit. It's not quite lined up. Oh well, no matter. Yeah, save our work. Alright, so now when we scroll it, it moves with that. Alright, so now when we scroll it, now, I don't know how this track is. In my last track, there was some points in the tracking where the keyframes kind of jumped around a bit. Let's play this in real time and see how it goes. Looks okay. So, for the sake of saving time, instead of me going and tweaking the keyframes in this null object, I'm just going to take the one that I've already tweaked, null one, copy it, oops, paste it in there, and delete that, parent that. So it works a little better. Okay, so now that we have this going on, I'm gonna, not the null object, I'm gonna roll this down. We don't need to see that motion tracking. We need to lower the opacity on this So we, oops, no, I'm in the wrong layer. Nobody saw that? Okay. I'll lower the opacity so we can kind of see what's going on here. And adjust that a little bit more. So I want this tunnel to look like it's flooded. I just want to see the areas of water as pertain to where in the tunnel the water is. Okay, so let's crank that back up. Let's just take a look in general. This is just a rough. That jumps around a bit. That jumps around because the water is tracked, but the mask is not. So we have to animate the mask. So here's what we're going to do. Drop down, go into mask, mask path. We're going to start at the beginning. Going to hit that keyframe, and now wherever we drag to from here. So let's, first of all, let's make sure that we've got kind of in the right spot. There. Let's take a good look at where this lines up with, and we'll end up softening this a little bit. Probably want to bring this up just a little, so it looks like there's actually some depth to the water. Okay, so we drag it a bit, okay, and we see right there that we're starting to kind of get out of whack. Put that on this side. Seems alright for now. Oops. This throws me here. There's kind of a light edge to this wall. So it makes me think that the wall is ending before it actually does. Alright, so from there, and in between there, it kind of goes awry just a little bit. When you're dealing with footage this shaky, you can usually get away with some tweaks. Alright, so it starts to separate from there, so find the place where it is still flush, move it around a bit just so it creates a keyframe, and then move it out. There we go, okay. So we need to bring this back, we need to bring this in here. This still seems to be about right. Okay, it comes away again. Let's drag it back. How's it looking on this side? Okay, I'm going to get a little more flush with the wall. Whew, it's really starting to come away there. So let's go to a point where it's still flush, which is pretty much right there. Alright, that's no good. Let's fix that. That needs to be fixed big time. And over here, whew, look at that. That's terrible. Okay, drag that back down there. The perspective's changing, so we have to work with that. There too. Let's fix that. Oops. With a shot this jiggly, if there are kind of errors in perspective, no one's going to notice. Fortunately, the water's moving too. So the more movement you have, kind of the more you can fudge and get away with. the smoother movement you have kind of also works in your favor too, because then you don't have to worry about all this random movement so much. Boy, that's terrible. We're going to also address how this water level is rising. We'll do that in a separate mask. Actually, we could do it in this mask. Bring it back down. Of course we can. What am I talking about? But now, of course, we have to fix it on all our previous keyframes, which is fine. It's alright. If you're in the VFX, you'll actually find out that there's a whole dedicated person to doing this work, this masking work and keying work. And they hand it off to other visual effects people who do the final compositing. That way the person doing the final compositing doesn't have to spend so much time doing stuff like this. The workflow pipeline continues on quicker, and they can pay someone less money to do this job. It's not bad, you know. You put on your headphones, keyframing stuff, getting it just so. Should I edit this out of the YouTube video? You know, I mean, like, this is a live stream. Okay. Whoa, what happened there? Whoa, look at that. Totally missed that. How it separates away from the wall there. The edge of the wall. Look at that. Totally missed that. How it separates away from the wall there. The edge of the wall. You just kind of have to go through it every step of the way. See how it's separating away there. You know, I started this, I wrote and designed everything for this movie with VFX in mind too, 3 years ago. And just recently, my wife and I have started watching Stranger Things. And it is so maddening. First of all, it's a great show. But the designs, you know, I sourced my design ideas from the same influences, which is H.P. Lovecraft's world of nasty, tentacled, unearthly horrors. And so did Stranger Things. So a lot of the designs are similar. So now I'm going to have my movie come out, and I know what people are going to say. They're going to be like, oh, he's knocking off Stranger Things. And no, I'm not. It's just me and Stranger Things are knocking off the same source material. I like this show, you know. I think there's some very interesting stuff. in the quantum terror that, you know, I have something that could be considered a version of the Upside Down. I do it differently, but I definitely would not be the first person to have an upside down type situation. And I don't think Stranger Things are, you know, could say that they are either. I don't think they would. Matter of fact, Stranger Things is, as far as I can tell, completely based on kind of collaging together other stuff, which I think is a great thing about the show. I don't think every great story has to be original. Matter of fact, if you're waiting for an original story, a long wait. It's all in how you kind of mix everything together. Audio is really low. I just noticed your comments, Derek. Audio is really low. I just noticed your comments, Derek. Now, don't expect this to look great yet. I can see it jumping around a bit. Let's go back and look where it jumps. I can see it kind of separating about there and there. Let's see, before we go too crazy, see about feathering this mask a bit before we go too crazy with the keyframe, see if that fixes it at all. Maybe feathered a bit too much. Let's pull it down. Pull away. Pulls away right there. Let's fix that. Okay, it looks pretty good. Not perfect, but pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to do a few things here to this layer to make it look like not daylight water. We have a few little things here, like this reflection here. You know, I mean, by the time we're done color correcting it, no one's going to notice. So let's go into effects, and the first thing I always like to do when color correcting is to go down into levels. We've got a histogram here. Now we want this water a lot darker. So here is our dark value. We can pull that in, but we've also got a lot of highlights in here. We want to pull that in and then kind of mess with this. Now we have what looks like darker water. But we have another problem. We have all this light source up here against a dark wall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this layer. Oops. Let's pull it back here. And make sure it's also parented to the null, so they move in time. But we're going to darken this up. We're going to go in and we're going to do, let's see, what's an overlay look like? Too light. Let's go into multiply. It's pretty dark. Probably should have done some color correction first, but for the sake of demonstration, we'll just stick with this. So let's do another mask. And make that mask a subtraction mask. Oops, no. An intersection mask. Also, let's bring this down. I want this darker. And let's feather this mask. I want that much darker. So now it looks much darker on the edge. And then one more, let's duplicate it again. Leave that one in the middle. Make sure they're all parented. So the one underneath it, I'm going to come in the mask, and I'm going to expand the mask a bit. And we're going to have to fix some keyframes for what I'm about to do, but let's go in again. Let's do overlay. Let's darken that. And then let's feather the hell out of that mask. And then just for good measure, let's lower the opacity a bit, like that. So what are we doing here? Now that we're going to go back in and re-keyframe all of this yet again. Let's pull this out here. We're creating a shadow for the water up on the wall. Obviously we don't want the shadow expanding past this part of the wall. So we have to keyframe it, or redo the keyframes. Darn it. this time. I want a little shadow up here as well. Otherwise, I would just mask the top of it with another mask. But I do want a little bit of a haze here as well. Hopefully I can boost the audio for my YouTube. Anyway, yeah, so Stranger Things. You're going to see soon that we have a creature that kind of looks like the Gorgon. I designed it before the Gorgon was ever shown. I designed it before Stranger Things was announced, I think. I actually like my design a bit better, to tell you the truth. The Gorgon design was cool, but it could have been better. It kind of made me think of the Halloween costume where people like wear a flower on their head, like the petals are all around their face. I mean, it looked creepier and scarier than that, but I just couldn't help but be put in mind of that. Mine will put you in mind of something else, though. You'll see what I mean soon. Only watched season 1 so far, so hopefully season 2 is as fun. I like how they left it at a kind of a setup for a sequel, but they managed to give you a satisfying ending to the first season. I don't think that's spoiling it for anyone. That down. Avoid the hard edge of the footage. Maybe in future I'll avoid using the top of the footage as an edge. I'll just mask the whole thing. Okay, so let's see how that plays out. Save it. Let's run it. Not bad. I see some rough spots, but we're going to move ahead as if we don't see them so we can get through this. So going back to color correction, let's go to this mid one here. Way too blue. I mean, this is like amazingly blue. So we want to go back into color correction, color balance, and let's start with the midtones. So green, blue, blue midtone, let's dial that down a lot. Now it's getting green, so let's dial down the green. And I see a lot of green in the highlights, so let's turn the highlights down in the green. Or you know what? Maybe if we turn the red up, that might be better. And then dial the blue down too. That looks murkier. Sometimes if you've got too much green, instead of turning the green down, try turning the red up, because they're opposite colors, so they kind of cancel each other out. But it depends. Okay, so that looks like murkier. Grayer water. I see some shifting around that I don't like. But again, for the sake of the tutorial, here's the finished product. Take your time. There you go. That looks a bit better. So another thing I did here, so we got these motion tracking dots, and what I did was I ended up just masking around them. I guess I'll do it. Let's go to about here. Let's duplicate this layer. Some up here as well. Kind of hard to see. There it is. If you click on this, grab this tool and just highlight everything, click on them, you can make those round. Oops. Let's see. Take that mask, these masks, feather them a tiny bit. Actually, feather them all a little bit simultaneously. Okay. Darn it. Stop that. Okay, so I have to stop that. Why am I having trouble with that? Let's move these masks over. Nope, not like that. So the masks are next to the dots. And then we're going to move the whole piece of footage over. Back over where the dots were, so the dots are gone. But it's still footage. So what we want to do is we just hide everything here. Just have these dots. We're going to go over to composition. We're going to go save frame. So file. I'm going to output it as a Photoshop file. Okay. And then you see you know, name it what you want. I've already got one here, so I'm just going to use this one. So I'm going to cancel that. Turn these back on. Turn that off. So what I have here, I have this Photoshop file. I'll just place it over these dots, and I'm going to bring this over to a point where it covers them. Alright, oops, I just accidentally turned my null object back on. And then from there, I'm going to also parent this to the null, and I can get rid of this masking layer. So now they're covered, except near the end. Look at that. You can kind of see them. I don't know if you can see this, but right here they get a bit lighter. So we're just going to go in here. Alright, about there they disappear. Effects, color correction, levels, effects, levels. I'm going to keyframe it. So keyframe it there, and then as we drag it over, they're going to get lighter. So we're going to pull in that histogram. So oops, not too dark, not too light, just so it kind of blends in just a little there. So as we get closer, we don't see them. Alright, so this is what we got so far. Not perfect, like I said. I would definitely spend more time on that, what do you call it? Motion track. Get that right, because it's not right in this one, and I got it right in the other one. Now, color correction overall. This water is pretty dark. I'm going to do an adjustment layer. And add some effects. Color correction, again. Levels. Let's bring these levels down. I'm going to make this much darker tunnel. Much more foreboding. The problem is our water. I think our water is too dark. I want to be able to see that water. We worked hard on it. So let's just drag this below the water. And now you have the color correction for that, but you've got nice prominent water. Then last but not least, we're going to go back in, and I have some more footage, which is check this out. It's just water reflection. I had a fish tank and some water bottles. I don't know if you can actually see the edge of the fish tank here, with a black sheet hung up. And I'll try and find a place to download this footage as well so you can use it. But I just got light of water reflecting up, because when light bounces off of water that's rippling, it reflects light back up at you. So we're going to take this footage. Let's see. Let's go back into our composition here. Oops. Drop that in. It doesn't get good for a bit, so I'm going to drag it over so we got some good reflections. Alright. Let's duplicate it. Drag it over some more so we've got some variation. And then what blend mode did I use? I used color dodge. Okay, good. I forget. I have to go back and check. So let's go in and use color dodge and color dodge. I don't see much happening there. think what I should do is, let's go back in, make this normal again, watch it. Okay, there is some good footage there. So what's going on here? Let's go into Effect, Color Correction. So I don't usually say use Brightness Contrast. Let's bump this up. Let's get some contrast out of this. Same with this one. Just copy that into this other one. Not having much luck with that. Wonder why. What am I doing wrong? What am I doing different? Let's see what happens when we parent. I think I parented into the other ones to the null. So there we go. It's subtle, but we have light reflecting up. I wonder what it would look like if we drug it below our adjustment layer. Yeah, that looks better. I think it was the adjustment layer that was kind of canceling it out a bit when we laid it on top. But we do have another problem, and that is, look at this, because we parented it, and I think it is good that we parented it because the light reflection moves with the camera shake, but now we have this issue here of the image itself kind of falling out of alignment with the frame. So let's just solve that by scaling it up a bit. No problem. Alright, let's have a look at it. And there we go. We've got a water-filled tunnel that's dark, has reflections popping up at it, out of it, onto the walls, and it's POV shot. So I think it looks pretty good. Matter of fact, I'm going to steal that adjustment layer. I'm going to make some adjustments to the other one because I liked, let's see, let's copy that. I don't have that on this footage. Oops. Same thing, drag those below the adjustment layer. I'll have to mess with the color of my water. I actually kind of like the color of the other water I did. Let's try this on the one that I did yesterday. Looks pretty good. So we have this from this. And all this is a tunnel built, like again, like I said, by Heather Lowe, our miniature effects person. The walls are actually styrofoam, and they've been painted with gray paint and sand with some other textures thrown in. And we just add all this stuff in, and we have a beautiful flooded tunnel as seen through the POV of our character running through it. So there you go. Alright, I'm going to be back soon. Probably live stream again today with another quick tutorial. Hopefully the audio issue wasn't too bad and we can boost it for the YouTube channel. But thanks for joining me. I hope this was helpful. And remember, this sort of thing just doesn't just apply to tunnels. You know, the key to being a creative filmmaker is to see what other people are doing and seeing how you can apply it to what you want, the technique. Don't just go copying frame for frame. This is something that really bothers me because I see a lot of great After Effects or visual effects tutorials on how to do things, and then I see people's short films where I look at their effect and I know exactly the tutorial that they followed step by step to get that effect. And it's heartbreaking because you've got to be an artist, put your own spin on it, find things that blend it in better. Because even the people doing the tutorials, like myself, they don't have time to spend refining these things within the tutorial. It's something that they would tweak for hours and hours, and they wouldn't show you because you'd be bored, probably, like watching this. Anyway, so there we go. Flooded Tunnel. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it helpful. Check down below my description. There's a donate button, not a donut button, a donate button. If you found this useful and you want to see me keep doing these, that'll help me out a lot. I also have Patreon at Christopher Moonlight. Follow me on Twitter. That's Moonlight Art Mag, but just search Christopher Moonlight. You'll find me. Instagram, Facebook, all just search Christopher Moonlight. I'm everywhere. So I'm going to get back to work on this after grabbing something to eat, and I'll be back soon with more tutorials.